It is the late afternoon of April 4th, 1968. The air in Memphis is humid and carries the scent of the storm that passed and the one still to come. You are on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel, room 306. Your back aches, a chronic pain that has become your constant companion, much like the exhaustion lodged deep in your bones. You are only 39, but when you look in the mirror, you see the eyes of a 60-year-old man, the heart of a 60-year-old man. You ask Ben Branch to play Precious Lord Take My Hand at tonight's event. Play it pretty, you say. You lean over the green iron railing. The parking lot below is quiet. You feel a cool breeze on your face, a momentary relief from the suffocating Tennessee heat. For a second, there is peace. And then, a sound. Loud, sharp, like thunder that ruptures reality. The impact on your jaw is the last physical sensation you will have in this world. Your tie is stained crimson. Darkness descends before your body hits the concrete. The world calls you a martyr, a saint, an icon. But as the blood drains onto the cold balcony floor, the only truth left is that greatness has claimed its final debt. You were born Michael King Jr. in an Atlanta where the scent of magnolias mingles with the sour stench of segregation. It is 1929, and the economic depression is merely a backdrop to the spiritual depression of a people treated like cattle. Early on, you learn that the world is divided by invisible, yet lethal, lines. Your father, Daddy King, is a titan, a man who preaches with fire and rules the house with an iron fist. The weight of his expectation crushes your youthful shoulders before you even know what ambition is. You are sensitive, perhaps too sensitive for this world. When your grandmother dies, the pain is so visceral, so unbearable, that you throw yourself out of the second-floor window. You survive, but the fall marks the beginning of a lifelong dance with melancholy. Guilt is your first religion. You carry the weight of the world before you are old enough to shave. You grow up trying to run away from the pulpit. Religion seems too emotional, too irrational to you. You want to be a doctor, a lawyer, anything but the voice of God. But oratory is in your blood. Words have flavor in your mouth. You feel their texture, the rhythm, the music. At Morehouse, you discover Thoreau and civil disobedience, and something clicks inside your chest, a weapon that doesn't fire bullets, but truths. You fall in love with Coretta in Boston. She is smart, talented, a soprano who dreams of the concert stage. You convince her to trade her dream for yours, promising a quiet life of academic pastorship, an innocent lie that destiny will make sure to punish cruelly. In 1954, you accept the call to Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery. It is a sleepy city, the cradle of the Confederacy. You are 25, with a freshly earned doctorate and the gentle arrogance of youth. You believe you will have time to write your sermons, raise your children, and grow old in peace, perhaps become a college dean one day. You adjust your tie in the sacristy mirror, smelling the wood polish and old books, content with your small, safe existence. But history doesn't care about your plans for comfort. One December afternoon, a seamstress named Rosa Parks refuses to give up her seat on a bus. The phone rings at your house. They want you to lead the boycott. You hesitate. You have a newborn baby. You are afraid, but you say yes. That night, at the Holt Street Baptist Church, you step up to the pulpit without a prepared speech, only with trembling fear in your hands and the fire of generations burning in your throat. When you open your mouth, it is no longer Michael who speaks. It is a force of nature. The crowd roars. You feel the electrical energy run down your spine, an intoxicating mix of power and dread. You return home that night, sit in the kitchen with a cup of cold coffee, and realize, with a chill that doesn't come from the temperature, that your private life is over. You have just signed a contract with destiny without reading the fine print that demands everything you love as payment. The ascent is dizzying, brutal. Montgomery lasts 381 days, days of long walks, worn-out shoes, constant threats. Your house is bombed. You run to the porch, the smell of gunpowder and brick dust burning your nostrils, the cries of Coretta and baby Yolanda piercing your ears. The crowd outside wants blood, wants revenge. You raise your hand. We must love our white enemies, you say. The calmness in your voice is a miracle, but inside, you are screaming. That night in the kitchen, you have your first real conversation with God. Not the theological God of the books, but the God of desperation. You tell him you are weak, that you are afraid, and you hear silence, followed by an iron certainty that you must continue. You become the face of the movement. The founding of the SCLC puts you on the road. You live in cheap hotel rooms, eat greasy food at roadside diners, sleep 4 hours a night. Your body starts to take its toll. Blinding migraines, insomnia, a cough that never goes away. In 1958, an unhinged woman stabs you in the chest with a letter opener in Harlem. The blade stops millimeters from your aorta. The doctor says if you had sneezed, you would have drowned in your own blood. You wake up in the hospital bed, your chest burning, and dictate a letter of forgiveness to your assailant. The world sees a saint. You see only the fragility of the flesh. Birmingham, 1963. The heat of Alabama is oppressive. The cells are concrete ovens. You are arrested for the 13th time, in the darkness of solitary confinement. Without a lawyer, without contact with Coretta, you write on the margins of an old newspaper, the letter from Birmingham jail. Your words are razor sharp, dismantling the criticism of moderate white clergymen. You write with the clarity of someone who has nothing to lose, but the anguish of not knowing if you will see the sun rise again. When you are released, the images of dogs and fire hoses turned on children shock the world. You won, but victory tastes like ashes and tear gas. And then, Washington, the Lincoln Memorial, a sea of faces, 250,000 souls. The August sun reflects in the reflecting pool, blinding your eyes. You begin your prepared speech, but Mahalia Jackson shouts behind you, "Tell them about the dream, Martin." You drop the paper. You improvise. "I have a dream." The nation stops. Your voice rings out like a bronze bell, echoing from the hills of Georgia to the stone mountains of Tennessee. It is the moment of apotheosis. You are the American Moses. But the cruel irony is that while the world canonizes you on that stage, behind the scenes, J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI are compiling the file meant to destroy you. They bug your phones, installing microphones in your hotel rooms. They know your flaws. They know about the women. They know the man who preaches moral righteousness seeks comfort in the arms of strangers just to silence the deafening roar of the pressure. You return to the hotel, the applause of millions still buzzing in your ears, and find a package from the FBI, a tape recording with sounds of your most intimate moments, and an anonymous letter suggesting there is only one honorable way out for you before Christmas. Suicide. You hold the tape with trembling hands, cold sweat running down your back, realizing that the pedestal they placed you on is actually a guillotine waiting for the blade to drop. The year is 1965, and the world has changed. The Nobel Peace Prize sits on your shelf, but it doesn't stop the bullets. Selma's a bloody battlefield. You march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, feeling the weight of responsibility for every cracked skull, for every lung filled with gas. Lyndon Johnson signs the Voting Rights Act, and many say, "That's it, it's done, we won." But you know that's not true. You look north to the inner city ghettos of Chicago and New York, where the law doesn't stop the hunger, where the vote won't buy dignity. You decide to take the movement to Chicago, and that is where the magic begins to crumble. You march through white northern neighborhoods and are met not with the open hostility of the South, but with a dense, visceral hatred. A rock hits your head in Marquette Park. You drop to your knees, your vision blurred, blood streaming down your neck. You tell reporters you have never seen hatred like this, not even in Mississippi. The failure in Chicago haunts you. The depression returns, heavier, darker. Your allies begin to abandon you. The young radicals, Stokely Carmichael and the Black Panthers, scoff at your nonviolence. They call you DeLaude, a relic, and Uncle Tom. Every shout of black power is a stab to your pacifist heart. You feel old, obsolete, a prophet shouting in a language no one wants to hear anymore. Then comes Vietnam. Your conscience won't. Let you sleep, you see the pictures of children burned by napalm and see the same injustices reflected from the streets of Atlanta. Your advisors plead, "Don't speak, Martin. You'll lose the president's support. You'll lose the donors." But silence is betrayal. On April 4th, 1967, at Riverside Church, you break the silence. You call your own government the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today. The reaction is nuclear. Newspapers that once applauded you now call you a traitor. LBJ slams the White House doors in your face. Donors cancel checks. Black leaders turn their backs. You are alone, terribly alone. You travel frantically, trying to organize the Poor People's Campaign. Your eyes are perpetually red, swollen. You gain weight, smoke compulsively, drink to get to sleep. Death becomes an obsession. You talk about it constantly. In sermons, in dinner conversations, you smell it, like ozone before the rain. On every airplane landing, with every car backfire, you flinch, waiting for the impact. Your friends try to cheer you up, but they don't see what you see. You know the time is up. You believe you are doing God's will, but in the dead of night, when the sleeping pills don't work, you wonder if it was worth sacrificing your children's childhood, your wife's peace, and the sanity of your own mind for a country that seems determined not to be saved. You look at your hands and see the lines of destiny shortening, converging on an inevitable and bloody final point. Decades later, history will say you were at the height of your prophetic courage, but in those solitary hotel rooms of 1968, you feel like just a broken man carrying a cross too heavy for a simple preacher's son from Atlanta. April 1968. Memphis calls you. A sanitation workers strike. Black men marching with signs that simply read, "I am a man." It is the essence of everything you fought for. You go, despite the warnings, despite the exhaustion that makes your bones feel like they are made of lead. The first march turns violent. Broken windows, looting. You are rushed out, humiliated. The press says you lost control. You lie on the bed at the Lorraine Motel, in your pajamas, covering your head with the pillow, wanting to disappear. Ralph Abernathy has to drag you out of bed to go to Mason Temple on that stormy night. Rain beats on the tin roof. Thunder cracks outside. There are a few people, only the most dedicated faithful brave the weather. You ascend the pulpit, your eyes glowing with a strange, almost supernatural fever. You have no notes. You start slowly, tired, but then the Spirit takes over. You speak about history, about the journey, and then you begin to speak about death. Longevity has its place, you say, your voice choked with emotion. But I'm not concerned about that now. The congregation falls silent, mesmerized. You tell them you have been to the mountaintop, that you have seen the promised land, and with a chilling clarity, you say, "I may not get there with you." Tears run down your face. You nearly collapse into the arms of your aides as you finish. It is a farewell. You know it. They know it. That night, you sleep with a strange peace. The peace of a man who has handed off his burden. The next day, April 4th, is casual. A pillow fight in the room with your brothers in the struggle. Laughter, plans for dinner at Reverend Kyles's house. You choose your tie. You step out onto the balcony. The cool air. The request for the song. The shot from a Remington 760 rifle destroys your spinal cord. You do not hear Abernathy's scream. You do not feel the rough concrete. Within the hour, you are pronounced dead at St. Joseph Hospital. The world erupts. Over 100 cities burn in flames of rage and grief. The smoke of the riots rises to the heavens like a grotesque funereal incense. But the greatest irony, the final cruel joke of fate, is what happens next. They take your radical remains, the man who denounced capitalism, war, and systemic poverty, and turn him into harmless stone. They quote your line about the content of their character while dismantling the very laws you died for. They build statues of you, name streets and holidays after you, but they bury your real message along with your body. You died a state-monitored pariah, hated by millions, only to be reborn as a safe plaster saint. Convenient to be quoted by those who, if you were alive, would be sending the police to bang down your door. You paid the ultimate price, not just with your life, but with your peace, your privacy, your reputation in life, and your complexity in death. You were a flawed, sinful, depressed, exhausted, and frightened man who chose, day after day, to swallow the fear and walk toward the bullets. Now, look at the world you left behind. Look at the statues and the streets that bear your name, often crossing through neighborhoods still forgotten and impoverished. The question echoing from your marble tomb in Atlanta is not whether the dream survived. The question, whispered directly into the ear of the person watching this now, is, if greatness demands the sacrifice of everything you are, how many of us would have the courage to climb to the top of that mountain, knowing that the only way down is death? And you? Would you? You lived this life, but there is another waiting for you, another choice, another destiny, another truth no one has told you. The next life is right beside you. Can you bear it? If this life left its mark on you, leave a like. Share this so others can experience what you just felt. And subscribe, because every week you become someone new. History doesn't wait, will you?